The awkward tax, the cost of social fluency. Welcome to my channel, Habit Compass. Right, let's just dive straight into this today because we're tackling something literally every single one of us has gone through, but, very few of us actually frame correctly in our heads. In this video, we're going to completely rewire how you look at social discomfort. We spend so much time trying to be smooth, right? Trying to say the absolute perfect thing and avoiding any tiny sense of embarrassment. But what if I told you that the very thing you're running from is actually the mandatory gateway to the social mastery you want? What if your social missteps aren't failures at all, but rather necessary transactions? Let's break down the hidden cost of becoming truly socially fluent. Okay, picture this. It's incredibly specific, but oh man, it's incredibly painful. You're walking down the hall, right? Or maybe you're across the room at a party. You make eye contact with someone you know, and they raise their hand. You confidently go for the high five, maybe you even add a little extra swagger to it, but then total disaster strikes. They weren't going for a high five at all. They were just waving. Or wait, even worse, they were waving at the person standing directly behind you. You miss completely. Your hand is just floating there in the empty air. You try to play it off, maybe turning it into a hair adjustment or a weird stretch, but the damage is done. Your face flushes bright red. That immediate visceral heat rushes to your cheeks. It is the universal language of the cringe. We have absolutely all been that stick figure with the bright red circle face of sheer embarrassment. So it begs the million-dollar question, doesn't it? Why on earth does this hurt so much? Think about it logically for a second. Physically, absolutely nothing happened to you. You didn't break a bone, you didn't lose your job, you're not in any physical danger whatsoever. Yet your brain is basically treating this like you just put your hand on a hot stove. It sends out this massive, blaring alarm bell. See, our brains are hardwired for social connection because, historically speaking, being a smooth part of the tribe literally meant survival. So when we make a social misstep, when we misread a cue, or just say the completely wrong thing, our brain treats it as a severe threat to our social standing. It hurts so intensely because your brain is trying to brand that exact moment into your memory so you never, ever make that specific mistake again. It's just a defense mechanism. But unfortunately, that intense pain is exactly what causes us to retreat, to hide away, and to just stop trying altogether. Well, this is exactly where we need a massive paradigm shift. Enter the awkward tax. Seriously, let this definition really sink in for a minute. The awkward tax is the necessary cost you must be willing to pay up front to become a social master. It completely flips the script on us. Social pain and embarrassment, they're no longer personal flaws. They're absolutely not signs that you're inherently unlikable or weird. Instead, they're simply a mandatory toll on the road to mastery. And here's the thing, you cannot bypass the toll booth. If you want to be charismatic, if you want to be able to effortlessly read a room, navigate complex conversations, and just handle any social curveball thrown your way, you've got to open your wallet and pay the awkward tax. You just have to be willing to sit in that discomfort. So let's just strip away all that cringe and emotion for a sec and look at how this actually builds mechanically inside your brain. Step 1, you attempt an interaction. You put yourself out there. Step 2, you experience awkwardness. You stumble, you totally miss the high five, you tell a joke that absolutely flops. But look at step 3, this right here is where the magic happens. Pattern learned. A little icon essentially pops up in your brain's operating system. That awkwardness you felt back in step 2, that was just your brain successfully collecting data on what is not appropriate for that specific context. Your brain is this brilliant algorithm, and it needs negative data points just as much as positive ones to map out the incredibly complex landscape of human interaction. When you feel awkward, your brain is literally just calibrating. It's adjusting its social sensors. And without step 2, step 3 just never happens. To bring all this abstract brain science down to earth, think back to when you were a kid learning to ride a bike. Did you expect to just hop on the saddle and pedal flawlessly down the street on day 1? No way, of course not. You knew you were going to wobble, you knew you were going to scrape your knees and probably fall off. But falling off the bike wasn't a sign that you were somehow biologically incapable of riding. It was just the required stage of finding your balance. Well, learning social fluency is the exact same process. Experiencing awkwardness is literally just the falling off the bike stage of communication. If you avoid the bike because you don't want to fall, you'll never learn to ride. And if you avoid social interactions because you don't want to be awkward, you will never find your social balance. Okay, so how do we actually apply this to our day-to-day lives? Simple. We aim for 100. I want you to gamify this whole process. When you gamify something, you magically remove those heavy emotional stakes. So imagine you have a sheet of paper, and your goal is to get 100 tally marks.
But wait, these aren't tally marks for perfect, smooth, incredibly charismatic interactions. No. These are tally marks for every single time you attempt an interaction and it gets awkward. Every time you totally miss that high five. Boom, tally mark. Every time there's a painfully long silence in an elevator. Tally mark. Achieving social fluency is simply a volume game driven by data points. The faster you collect your 100 awkward tally marks, the faster you pay your tax, and the faster your brain actually learns the patterns. You gotta start actively seeking the tally marks instead of running from them.
When you take all this complex psychology and evolutionary biology and just boil it all down, it leaves us with one incredibly simple equation. Awkward equals learning. I really want you to memorize this. Actually, scratch that. Make it your phone wallpaper. Write it on a sticky note on your mirror. The next time you're standing in a group and you say something that brings the entire conversation to a screeching, uncomfortable halt, I want you to literally say to yourself in your head, awkward equals learning. Feel the heat in your face, fully acknowledge the cringe, and then just smile internally. Because guess what? Your brain just downloaded a crucial software update. You just paid a little bit more of your tax. You didn't fail at all, you learned.
And honestly, that brings us to the ultimate reward. Once you've paid that tax up front, once you've collected all those messy tally marks and let your brain learn the patterns, you enter what we call the finesse phase. This is where you're finally balancing smoothly on that social bike. You'll find yourself in a situation that used to absolutely terrify you. Maybe someone goes for a high five while you're going for a handshake, and instead of freezing up and turning bright red, you just smoothly pivot. You make a light joke, and you handle the whole thing with complete grace. The awkwardness doesn't destroy you anymore. You just glide right through it. You've become fluent. It definitely takes time, and it takes a real willingness to be uncomfortable, but the finesse phase is absolutely waiting for you on the other side. So what if your next incredibly embarrassing moment is actually the greatest social breakthrough you've ever had? If you learned something new, subscribe to the channel for building better habits through navigating Compass, and share your thoughts in the comments. I love to hear from you.